right. I now call the July 2nd, 2024 regular meeting of the City Council to order. Our invocation this evening is given by Pastor Ruben Berra with the Centro Cristiano Bethel Church. Welcome. There's going to be a little sticker on the microphone, if you could just click on that for me. Yeah, green. Oh, almost.
Hello?
There you go.
Ta-da! Well, praise God. And dear Lord, we come to you this afternoon, asking you for guidance in everything that is going to be talked in this meeting. Bless each one of the members of the council. Bless this Erlanger place, Lord, this section of Kentucky, for your presence, to be here and to be over all this Erlanger. We praise you and glorify your name, trusting that you will guide us today. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Gracias, Pastor. All right. I ask that you please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mrs. Hoffman, if you can please take roll.
Ms. Nicely? Present. Mr. Cahill?
Present.
Ms. Kyle?
Here.
Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Hermes?
Here.
Ms. Skidmore? Here. Ms. Reckers?
Here.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Thank you so much. All right, you've received a copy of the minutes for the June 4th, 2024 regular council meeting, as well as the June 18th, 2024 special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Mr. Cahill, Ms. Reckers. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, you've also received a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any additions to be made at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, our first special presentation this evening, we have the wonderful Sharmali Reddy in the house tonight from PDS. She's the executive director, and she's going to be giving us a codes enforcement update. I think it's been now a year since we transitioned our codes enforcement department over to Planning and Development Services. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be in front of you again and to not be talking about medical cannabis, a different topic. So as the Mayor said, it has been a year since we took over code enforcement for the city, and about a year and a half since we took over your building and zoning permitting. So this is sort of just checking in with you all. We know what we know and what we hear, but if you have any additional thoughts or comments, we're happy to take that. We are passing around a one-pager that has some numbers on how many cases and permits and applications we have approved during this period. So just want to start with code enforcement. It's a snapshot again, not trying to overwhelm you with numbers, but you should be happy to know that we conducted about 2,900, so I round that out to 3,000 inspections this last year for you all. Your team at the city has been incredible. It feels like a partnership in trying to help people through these challenges that they have. We've issued about 800 notices of violation, which is usually the first point of contact where we reach out to somebody and say, hey, we got a complaint, you probably should clean up your property, or here's the issue, call us, we'll work with you through it. And you'll also see that about less than about a third of those turn into citations, which is when we don't get any kind of a response from property owners. So again, this is just the first year, and the plan is to correct as many of these as possible. And with time, if we're doing this correctly, then these numbers should go down. You should see more compliance with your requirements. And on the right side of that, you'll see a little chart that shows where the biggest complaints are and in the city of Erlanger. But again, I think with time and enforcement and continuous monitoring, we'll be able to get some of those numbers down. On the building inspection side, again, this is zoning and building. You'll see the number of permits that we've issued, obviously a little less than 22, 23, which was still only from August, so we're missing a month there. But that's just reflective of what's going on countywide. We are seeing a lot of planning happening for development right now, which is, again, generally what happens when the economy slows down just a little bit. So overall, I mean, we are happy with the volume and the response that we're seeing. I think when we came to you first, we committed to customer service and being there for your residents and helping them work through this, and I feel like we've kept our commitment. So hopefully you feel the same. Please feel free to reach out anytime you hear otherwise. We want to jump on that and make sure that that doesn't happen. But that's all I have, Mayor, unless you all have any questions or comments for me.
I just have a comment. So our codes enforcement philosophy is very, very different, and it's unique to Erlanger. We wanted to make sure that when we moved over into PDS, that our philosophy was not lost, that the true goal of codes enforcement is not to be punitive. It is ultimately to assist in any way possible to rectify the situation. And PDS has gone out of their way to continue working with our team and our police social worker, and making sure that we're truly understanding these situations on a holistic level, and then being able to apply resources from the community to get these issues resolved. So I greatly appreciate your team, melding so well with our team, and really, I mean, it's almost like we're just one cohesive unit. So obviously there's always room for improvement, but we really do try to work every day to make it a better situation for everybody involved. So I appreciate all of your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment, and I do have to say, being on the regulatory side, there are times when people don't necessarily like us because of what we're trying to do, but I hope that every interaction they have with us is a respectful one, and that we're there to solve the problem. And truly, your team at the city makes it very, very easy to do this job. So I want to thank the mayor and Peter and the team too for what they do for us. So thank you. Thank you all.
Any other questions for Sharmali? All right, wonderful, thank you. All right, our next special presentation is an oath of office. We love those. All right, Mariah?
Good evening, Mayor. She's got one. Council, guest. Tonight we're going to do a swearing in for Mariah Estes. She was one of our interns, so this is really exciting. So this will be our second intern coming in. We're excited for her.
All right, so I'll say I, and you say your name, okay? I do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter EMT for the city of Erlanger to the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of the city of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger. So help me God. Congratulations. So are we 2 for 2 with our interns? Dude.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Awesome job. That's fantastic. All right. Okay, comments from those other than council members. We have 2 individuals on our public comment list today. Larry Kites, if you'd like to come to the front, there's a green little sticker and the little red light will pop up. There you go.
Hear me?
Yep.
Good
Larry,
evening.
I'm the official timekeeper, so you get
Okay.
3 minutes, so I'll
Very
kind of
good.
give you a wave when you're getting close.
I'll try to do it as quickly as I can.
All right, thank you.
Name's Larry Cates, live at 420 Center Street. Been a resident for 30 years. Been in that particular address for 27. We have a tree that grows alongside our property that grows in an easement. It's a large tree. It's a red oak. It's very messy. It's very tall. And it drops, I have a workshop that's been there before the tree, and it continues to drop nuts, and they hurt from pretty far up. So we've got a proposal that we sent around that we went through a professional arborist and had him look at the tree. He suggested removal over trimming it back. If we trim it back to the fence line, we're taking 1/4 of the tree off of it. It's going to cause problems for that tree in the future. We will have to continue to trim it back every 3 years or so. I would prefer to stay away from that if I can keep from it. We would like to see the tree removed. In the proposal that I put around, I don't know if we made one on that table, but it shows 2 different options. One is removal, and we have put some type of tree back in its spot that's not as big and not as obtrusive, growing over onto our property. And the other one was trimming it back. And like I said, they clearly show that the tree would be jeopardized if we trim it back. So I'm hoping that you all could work with me to see about removal, since it's kind of on your all's property.
Okay, question. Have you contacted us before?
I have.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we did. I did a email chain back and forth for a little bit.
okay,
I spoke to somebody in Public Works, and I forget the name, I'm sorry,
okay.
that told me basically that they weren't going to put it in, they weren't going to cut it down because they didn't want to foot the expense. I've offered to pay to have it cut down. I would prefer not. It's a lot of money. But I would love to see the tree gone away. I know that the lady that lives next door to us is getting older, and she's having troubles with the leaves and the mess that this tree leaves. And this thing doesn't finish dropping its nuts until, from last year, it didn't finish dropping them until this year. I was still getting hit by nuts in February. So it's very messy. And then it's an oak, so it drops its leaves late. It's a pain. It just never seems to be a month that we don't have something falling from this tree.
Okay, so what we'll do on our end is I'll get with Kevin, our Public Works Director, and we'll go out, take a look at it, get with you, and,
I work from home.
Okay, great.
My wife works from home, so I'm there most of the time. On occasion, I'm not, but if you get with me ahead of time, I'll make sure I'm there.
And your contact information's in there.
Please.
Is this your cell phone number right
It
here?
is.
Okay, great.
All right?
Yep,
Well, we'll definitely follow up with you.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Bye. Nice to meet you. All right. Next is Lucy Riffle. Welcome.
I first of all want to congratulate you on finally getting something done with the bridge. It looks wonderful. It's been an eyesore for years and years and years. I look forward to the area being finished with the beautification that was agreed upon at the task force meeting. I think Kevin said by the end of July. I think that's what you said. Of the hill, the Alice Street Hill, and then the entire area will look nice and be a great gateway. As you know, there's always chatter on social media, and most of it is erroneous. So I come here tonight to ask what that cost was for the city to get the bridge painted.
I think we
Rough estimate.
And it actually came in under bid, or under the budgeted dollar amount. I think it's approximately between 30 and 40,000 to the railroad, and between 130 and 140 to Bainham Painting.
From the city,
Correct.
city's coffers.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, there's been so much banter back and forth, and a lot of it's erroneous, and I
Yeah.
thought the best way, get it on camera.
Yeah. I think I saw Ms. Reckers had posted that we had budgeted this back in 2019. And it's just, oh, man.
Well, and the other thing, too, is one of the council members many years ago, I believe it was 9 years ago, and I quote, said, "This bridge isn't owned by Erlanger, it's not maintained by Erlanger, it's not our responsibility, it's nothing we should spend tax dollars on."
Yeah.
And so that's where the confusion came in as to whether tax dollars were spent or not spent. So
Yeah.
I
I think we've learned so much in the last, however many years, and understood the situation on a holistic level. So it's done.
Right. But
It's
it looks
done.
beautiful, and I eagerly await the rest of it to be completed so the whole area looks
I
nice.
know, I know.
Thank you.
Isn't it transformational?
Absolutely.
Goodness gracious. It's,
I only wish, and I know you all couldn't do it, but I wish the railroad take care of their concrete chunks that are out. But that's nothing you could do, I know that.
I
But
know, they do check the structural integrity of
I
the
know they
bridge.
do, and they say it's sound, but it's scary,
Yeah.
especially if one falls on your car.
Yeah,
So,
well, I don't think they want that.
all right. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. All right. That concludes public comment. I'll give this to Sherry. All right, my mayor's report. Lucy, you stole my thunder. I just wanted to thank everybody involved with the underpass. I know we started this project a long time ago. And thank you for council with sticking with it. I know, we budgeted 2019, I think you said, and it has been rolled over from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year over and over again. And tireless efforts of Peter and Kevin and Ed. Where's Ed? I need to thank Ed. This is a lesson in persistence and understanding the goal that you have in mind and not letting any hurdle get in your way. And I'm so extremely proud of this team. So thank you all. Everybody has played a role in this. Without each of you, it wouldn't have happened. So thank you. Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize how close this was to not happening again. And I think that we owe you just as much thanks, Mayor. You also were, your tireless efforts and persistence paid off as well. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Our city administrator's report.
All right. Thank you. Just a couple things to kind of follow up on our codes and the presentation that Sharmali had just given us. I just wanted to add, one thing we do is we have daily communications with PDS through Public Works. We have staff that goes out and we drive the city and we kind of implement a lot of the first interactions and notices. And then in addition to talking with PDS almost on a daily basis, we meet with them as a staff along with the social worker and the mayor on a monthly basis. We track our time and the money that we're spending. So we came in under budget and everything worked out great. And then we do quarterly foreclosure meetings with Jack, on the problematic properties. And he's done a fantastic job over this last year. It's been very educational for me to kind of see the process and how it works out. And they've reached out to a lot of the problematic properties and got them to pay their fines or become compliant. And, so I think we're, from what Jack was saying, we're pretty proactive and we do a really nice job. And I think it's commendable. And I just love the partnership we have with Sharmali and Rob Himes. They do a great job. And they really are an extension of the city. We talked tonight, and I don't know if I'm stealing Tyson's thunder, we're going to have a public workshop with the Cherry Hill residents on July 30th from 6 to 8. Sorry, you could. to talk about the new park that's being installed this budget year in Erlanger Road. So we'll be setting that up and inviting everybody, and of course in the Cherry Hill subdivision and council alike. One thing that you all were given a notice from PDS, their interlocal agreement that they have with North Kentucky Water, SD1, and Campbell County, and that was just kind of informational purposes only, so you know kind of what's going on. We don't really have, we have absolutely no involvement in that interlocal agreement, but they were just letting us know what they were doing, and that's for sharing data for the GIS mapping with North Kentucky Water and SD1, so that way our linked GIS maps are as accurate as possible at all times. We've received, or Duke has sent us the check for $25,000 for our Erlanger Road Park. So that is been a few months in the making, and that we should be receiving that check maybe any day, maybe we already have. And then the last thing, we're working with Duke Energy in Woodland Hills. They're replacing 5 poles, and so we're back to working with Duke and trying to come up with the best solution possible for their ongoing improvement projects. And they've been doing a really nice job consulting with us and getting us up to speed on when, where, and why. And so we're working with them on how best to replace those poles. But they're looking at 5 poles in the, they're actually transmission poles in the Woodland Hills subdivision. And that's all I have. Thank you.
The poles that are being replaced in Woodland Hills, will those be metal poles, like similar to Riggs Avenue poles?
Well, that is what they're proposing.
Okay.
So that's
They're from Garden. He just said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, they were proposing
Yeah.
steel poles. So, and that's what we're working with them on, because we're trying to find alternative solutions, back in the Woodland Hills to see if there's other options. First of all, to fully understand the size of the poles or what they're proposing, so that way we know the diameter, we know the height, and just to kind of fully understand the impact before they move forward. So. But that is their company's initiative, is for long-range improvement projects. The cost of it, they're moving to steel poles as a company.
Thank you.
Somebody else have a question?
I actually was going to have the same question that Diana
Okay.
had. Will there be transparency with what decision is made
Absolutely.
and how it's communicated to the Woodland Hills community?
Absolutely. And what I'll do, I'll involve, I'll tell you everything I know so far. So they have given us a couple locations. We want to go out and see what it is they're proposing, like show us a similar situation where we can visually see it. So he's given me some addresses. I'll forward that to you all. You can go out and take a look at it. And then when we have more communication with him, I'll update everybody so you kind of know where we stand on it. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's 5 poles in a subdivision again, and they're smaller. They're definitely smaller than what's on Riggs, height and diameter, but still it's a change. And in a subdivision that's going to be high profile. Just being that it's in people's residential yards. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Gatlin, City Attorney.
Yeah, just a couple things. Just to kind of piggyback off of Sharmali and Peter, I do think Erlanger does a wonderful job with being out in front and proactive, because as an example, I just looked it up. There's 20 active foreclosures right now in Erlanger, and none of those are code enforcement currently. And in most cities, you're probably going to look at 25-30% of your foreclosures are code enforcement based. We have been very, very strategic as a city in filing foreclosures, and I think what happens in a lot of communities when you're not as proactive as Erlanger and PDS are is it piles up and it gets to the point that now there's 25 liens on the property and everyone's kind of given up, and the neighbors are so mad and so upset that they're coming with pitchforks to meetings saying, you must foreclose on this house. And I think in the last few years, I think Erlanger's done a pretty good job of kind of nipping that in the bud and being proactive. So I think that's really good. Also on the tax front, we have to also give a shout out to Jen, because Jen works with my office, and it's not me, it's other people in my office, where we're very proactive in sending out collection notices on smaller tax liens and smaller code enforcement liens. And again, I think Jen does a great job of kind of keeping us all on track on that. Second issue, I was not quick enough when we did the agenda call. We are not having a municipal order on the flock safety cameras tonight, so there's nothing to do on that. So, and the reason primarily is when we first kind of proposed this, we thought this was going to be somewhat of a joint venture with 1NKY, but as it turns out, we were able to get the contract down to a 2-year contract under the amount that 1NKY has committed to for funding. So because of that, there is no expense to the city, there's no interlocal agreement with 1NKY, and hence there's no legislative action. Third thing, I want to give a shout out to my law clerk, Avery Dietz, who is in the audience tonight. Avery is going into his 3rd year at Chase, and he is a Center grad and a Covington Catholic grad. And we don't hold that against him. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Quinn, capital projects.
Thank you, Mayor. First, we'll talk about the Public Works facility. The maintenance bay is just about complete. We've got garage doors that need to go on. They're working on the sprinkler system in that facility currently. So that building about wrapped up. The salt building, the wall panels are going up to so they can pour the concrete walls. Footers are already in, and then the administrative, the siding's going in, the stone on the front and the sides. They've roughed in the electric, and it's had an inspection, so everything's moving quite well with the Public Works facility. Silver Lake Park, all the grading has been completed. They poured the footers for the shelters. They're looking to pour some panels for the shelter Monday. And then Cahill Common, during the task force tonight, we talked about ribbon cutting. So we were working with Mr. Cahill and the family and trying to get a date narrowed down to do that. But Beaumont is completed phase 2 of that project. Staff is currently working on the sign. The sign is in. We had an electrician there today putting the electric in, and then we've already purchased all the landscaping to go around the sign. So we should be wrapping that up here in the next week. So that's all I have. Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads? All right. All right, any task forces with reports? Mr. Hermes?
Yes. Thank you. Can I just yell out? Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had a Parks Task Force meeting this evening at 5 o'clock prior to this meeting. We discussed the work that's ongoing at Sherborne Park. The phase 1 is almost complete, and next we'll be working on the retaining walls, the sidewalk, and the shelter. And then after that, we'll be talking to contractors about the parking lot for that park. Silver Lake Park is, we're getting ready to start phase 3 there shortly. The electric is ready for Duke to do their part of it. And the shelter pads will start on Monday. And the shelters, we should receive those in August. So that's exciting. That'll be done in time for summer send-off. And then Cahill Commons, phase 2 is complete, and the sign is being worked on right now by our staff. We're working on determining a date for the ribbon cutting ceremony. I think that was just said. Sorry for repeating that. And then I was also, Peter, I don't know if you mentioned a date on that workshop. You did? Okay. The Cherry Hill workshop, this is to talk about the Erlanger Road Park. Right now, that's tentatively set for Tuesday, July 30th, from 6 to 8 p.m., and the exact location is to be determined. And the Parks Task Force will be meeting again in August, on August 6th at 5 o'clock here at the City Building. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay. Ms. Hoffman, there are a lot of bids tonight.
Yes, I think Public Works is going to talk on the first three, and then police will do the last one.
All right, cool.
So we put out Phase 4 for Silver Lake. Tumlin and Sons, who are currently doing Phase 3, were the low bid. We did receive 4 bidders on that project, and it is within budget. So kind of seamless. They'll keep continuing on with the work and get Phase 4 completed before summer send-off. Second one is road salt. So every year we participate in reverse road salt auction with CAECO. We received 4 bids. Cargill was a low bid at $81.25 a ton. Last year we were paying $96.77 a ton, and we purchased about right around 400 tons. So we'll be accepting that bid. And that's for a total of 2,000 tons. The county, we normally do a piggyback with the county, but the county's bid actually was higher than our bid, so we will probably accept the county bid. They're talking about putting it out for to rebid it again, but we always usually have 2 bids that we accept just in case we need the salt. And with having 2 facilities, that cost of $81 is pretty cheap. So we'll probably fill up both barns basically next year to make sure we have enough salt on hand. And then the last one is the concrete sidewalk replacement program. Humphreys has had that contract for at least the last 2-3 years. We had 6 bidders on this project, and Humphreys again was the low bid. So we'll be doing that contract signing July 10th with them. So we'll continue our sidewalk replacement program. Any questions on those 3?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Rader?
Yeah, the state did not have a state bid price on cruisers this year, so we actually had to put it out for the first time since I remember. We got 1 bid back, which was from Don Franklin in Somerset. That is actually the same place that the state bid usually comes from, and we were able to get some leftover 2023s if you guys approve. That saved us a little bit over $1,000 per car. Also, the equipment was included in that, and that would be from RidgeNet, which also is the same place that we used last year. Overall, the total only went up 1.36% over last year. So with all things considered, that's actually, we're doing pretty well.
So you think we're at the point this is like sole source, that there's not even a reason to bid if it's just this location in Somerset? And
yeah, I mean,
I'm kind of half joking.
No, but I mean, he's buying, I think, 500 cars at a time, and he is supplying them all throughout the Midwest, and there is nobody that can touch his prices.
It's an amazing business model in Somerset, Kentucky.
I know.
Any questions for Chief? All right, thank you. All right, is there any unfinished business tonight? Okay, is there any new business? Ms. Jasper Lucas?
I have received several requests from residents on the procedure to schedule their own Touch-a-Truck event, such as the one that took place in Brightleaf subdivision on June 13th, just a week after the city's very large annual Touch-a-Truck event. And on a similar note, I'd like to know if there was any overtime pay involved in staffing that event in Brightleaf.
Sure. I actually really appreciate you bringing it up because I think it's one of the most special things that we do in the city. We truly have a philosophy of community engagement and making sure that that's at the core of everything that we're doing. We have Kim Wolking, who does an extremely wonderful job of all the city events, and she takes her shoestring budget and she stretches it out as much as she possibly can. To have as many events and incorporate as many age groups as possible. But what's really special is when we get requests for either homeowners associations like subdivisions or churches or schools or businesses that want us to be a part of their special event. So if you do know of people that want us to participate in some fashion. I mean, obviously, we always say that if we can accommodate it, we want to. And we always let them know also that, our primary job is to respond. If we have the fire EMS or we have police out there, or if there's a PW, snow emergency or any kind of issue, those always take precedence. But one of our biggest things is getting out into the community, putting a face with a name, and I think that's probably one of the most important things that we do, understanding who we're serving and making sure that they feel comfortable with who's going to interact with them on maybe their worst day. So yeah, if you have people that are planning subdivision events, parades, I know, we do things at the school all the time. I think the firehouse or firefighters just did the hose event towards the last day of school. We've had birthday parades. We've had retirement parades. We participate in funeral processions. We really do try to go above and beyond and participate as much as we possibly can. I think it just bolsters our community engagement. Just contact Peter.
And the overtime question?
We had 2 individuals with overtime, but the overtime is already baked into our existing budget, and so there were no additional funds necessary.
What department were they from?
PW.
Yes, Mayor, I would just had a quick question. When there is a community block party or something, could council be aware of that so we could go out into the community and meet different residents and stuff since we represent them? And
I don't necessarily think that that's up to us. I mean, I don't think I'm not invited to every single event. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you have a thought process on that? You're looking right at me. Yeah.
I agree. I would think it'd be up to whatever the
organization or the school. Like, there's so many events that happen that it's not even appropriate for us to be there, like the schools and some of the ribbon cuttings that we participate in, it's really governed by who the chamber invites or who that particular company invites. I know I've gone into schools and participated and, spoke to kindergarten classes. I mean, it kind of depends on the event planner. Yep.
Oh, I understand that. I'm not asking to do all that, but if it's a block party in a community where anybody in that community should be welcome to go, are the residents of Erlanger, wouldn't that be an event that council would be able to go to? I'm not looking for private parties or anything like that.
We can talk about this offline because I don't agree, and that's okay. We can disagree. Because I think it's really up to the person that's planning the event for who they invite and who they want to bring into their community. event. And I don't think it's necessarily fair for us to demand that they invite particular people in order for us to participate. I don't know. It seems like it sets a wrong precedent, and it can't be accommodated each time. Yes?
Just on what you just said, I feel like paying Public Works overtime to attend an event that's not a city event is not setting a good precedent either.
Okay.
I mean,
thank you.
I just don't feel like that's appropriate for an event that's benefiting only a certain group of people, for some of our employees to be paid overtime, for that to be how we use our overtime dollars. Because there could be other times that we need to use those overtime dollars for something that does benefit the whole community and not just a small part. Yeah. So I have no issue with police and fire being there at all. From what I could tell, it was people who were already on duty. I have no issue with that. I completely agree that that is something that we should always provide. Okay. However, paying people overtime to be at an event that doesn't benefit everyone a week after we just had a very large event that was very similar, I just don't think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Let me clarify, it wasn't a Public Works person that was on overtime. They actually were called in later, so it wasn't Public Works.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So.
They weren't overtime.
So we had two Public Works employees that were or were not paid overtime?
They were not.
They adjusted their schedule so they could accommodate.
I apologize. I had some information that was incorrect. So they altered their schedule. Okay, flex time. Cool. All right, great. Mr. Hermes.
Mayor, I'd like to ask that we put on the agenda for the caucus meeting on July 16th the OKI grant for the Bright Leaf Narrows sidewalk, and just kind of get everybody caught up to speed with the debacle that's become with OKI, and try to figure out a path forward with that.
Okay. We will put that on the agenda. All right. All right. Any other new business? Well, and Jack took care of our legislation for this evening, so are there any announcements? All right. Do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Mr. Eckers, Ms. Kyle, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good evening.